Welcome back to another Boom or Bust editorial. I'm your host Terry, and today talking about the whole Sean McVay phenomenon that went on. Now, I will preface all this to say that this is not an attack on Sean McVay, Jared Goff, or anyone with the Los Angeles Rams. This is not about them per se. What this is about is the collection of unoriginal, uninspired, and inept decision makers that permeate the NFL and the National Football League as a whole. This is about the sports media, the fan base, and the ownership that is so short-sighted, has such a small attention span that it is so quick to just jump on whatever new trend is around and really quick to dismiss things, but also really quick to praise things. So that's about these larger concepts, not so much about Sean McVay himself or anybody else. This is just the situation used to highlight it. So I think I ranted about this before, but this whole idea that everybody wants to get their own Sean McVay is so ridiculous, and it's annoying to me for a couple reasons. But if we want to just break down what we're talking about, as most people might know, Sean McVay was hired by the Los Angeles Rams the year they moved to LA, and he followed Jeff Fisher. And Jared Goff was the number one pick, and people didn't know what would happen, but they came together and ended up putting a 11-win season going to the playoffs. Now, there's two things that is at the conversation. There's the turnaround of the Rams, and there is the turnaround of Jared Goff. So let's start with Jared Goff. This is something that I talk about a lot, especially Boom Bust being a draft channel during draft season. I talk about this a lot, and that's this idea that fans are so quick to call people bust. And I've said my thoughts many times. It's again how you define it, but either way you define bust, to be honest, I don't think you can sit here and call somebody a bust after their rookie year, or after a few games of the rookie year, unless you're talking about they just, as a person, don't have the capacity to be available to play football. That's a whole different thing. Then yeah, we could talk about that. But we're talking about as your ability as a player. I don't want to hear that after half the season, after a preseason game, after one rookie season. I don't want to hear that. Things change. And it happens so often that I'm still surprised people don't realize players can get better. So anyway, point being, Jared Goff, if you don't remember, played 7 games in his rookie year. You had him as the backup to start out and was kind of being moved along. Then the injury happened to the starter, and then Jared Goff ended up coming in later in the season and started 7 games. 7 games with a not good / banged up offensive line and being thrown into the middle of a really inept offense. And so he didn't look good. Of course he didn't look good. I mean, even if the things were right for him, you got to expect a rookie to not look perfect or pristine. And he didn't look close to that. He looked pretty, bad, but again, the situation and context in mind. So there was this cry, and it might just have been because Wentz, how good he looked when he played, but there was this cry that Jared Goff was a bust. And it was so ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'll leave it at that. And so the narrative was that Jared Goff is a bust. The number 1 overall pick after 7 games his rookie year is a bust. So the stage was set for Sean McVay to come in and be a quarterback whisperer. There is very few phrases that is more overused in the NFL today than quarterback whisperer. I was thinking about this the other day. There was a time where that was a very, very rarely used title for people. Like, there was a handful, like not even a handful. You could count on one hand how many people were regarded as quarterback whisperers by the NFL circle, not by the media on First Take and debate shows. We're talking about actual people that know what they're talking about. Only a handful. And so as the league started to develop rules to make passing more easy and scoring more easy and the yards start going up, people start caring more about the quarterback. Quarterback's always been top dog, but it became even more so. And so once we got to that point, all of a sudden, wow, we're looking for this guy that's a quarterback whisperer that can fix these quarterbacks. And so Sean McVay was one of the latest labeled the quarterback whisperer. And so he came in and Jared Goff had a much better season. I would say the numbers is a big thing. Like, let's not ignore that. Some people just look at numbers and don't know what they're talking about. And so that was a big thing, which is absolutely stupid because you're comparing a full season to a 7-game season. Even if you extrapolate the numbers, still, you're talking about very different contexts. That's dumb. But even the people that say, wow, it even looked different. Again, you're talking about a guy that was playing with a different arsenal of weapons as far as offensive line and receivers. Yes, the system was different as well, but somebody that wasn't thrown into his first action, somebody that was with veterans that wanted to win, somebody that had time to prepare in the off season for a second time around, someone that wasn't a rookie with the jitters. So, whatever reason, people gave all the credit to Sean McVay. And this goes back to the too much credit, too much blame. I've been doing a few episodes about coaches getting fired, and that's the other side of it. Oh my God. If this happens, it doesn't matter. It's the head coach's fault. They blame them. They got to get fired. And then this is the other side where whatever happens, it was because of the head coach. I mean, my Bears just hired Chuck Pagano. People won't stop talking about what his teams did prior. And yes, that's part of your resume, but they don't say he was a part of this or that or that. They say he did that. He made the Colts 11-5. He led them to that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a little strong, but that's how it goes. People give you too much credit, too much blame. So Sean McVay gets all this credit for Jared Goff. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here like, you know what? He didn't inherit, Kirk Cousins. He didn't inherit, Nick Foles, a Casey Keenum. He didn't inherit some 6th-round pick. This was the number 1 pick from the previous draft. This wasn't the number 1 pick from 7 years ago that showed he sucked and they turned it around. This isn't Kurt Warner coming from the Canadian Football League. This is the top pick in the draft from last year. And so, and we're not even talking about a number 1 pick or number 1 quarterback and the next quarterback was in the 20s. We talking about he had stiff competition with Carson Wentz as the number 1 quarterback as well. And he still went number 1. So to act as if Jared Goff was a bust is ridiculous. To act if Jared Goff didn't already have talent is also ridiculous. To act as if McVay reinvented Jared Goff is so dumb, it hurts my brain to think about and to hear people talk about it. Because the facts are, he had talent and you did not know what Jared Goff was. I don't care. It was 7 games. So there's the one part of it. Jared Goff performs at a level that is significantly higher than the previous year, while many people just forget the fact that the previous year was not even half the season. On top of that, he was a rookie who never played in the league before. So if you start at 0 and then you end at 15%, it's like, whoa, man, that's crazy how far you came. Yeah, but doesn't mean, that somebody just made a miraculous turn. It's just the bar was super low. And again, nothing against Jared Goff or anything, but it's just the point that people try to act like McVay came in and just did it to him. And I don't agree with that, because the other part of all of this that I'm about to get into is how much work goes into a team winning and doing everything together. So that's the Jared Goff part. The other part is the Rams' success. Now, again, Rams win 11 games, go to playoffs. Not knocking that at all. But looking at what you just came from. You just came from Jeff Fisher. You just came from real, not only ineptitude, but dysfunction on the team as far as how people felt about him and felt about each other and felt about winning. And so a lot of people make a big whoop about McVay coming in with his energy and changing the culture, quote unquote. And you can't change a culture in 1 year. So I that's why I quote unquote it. Now, what I will say, and I said before, is that whatever wins is the right style. So people say, yeah, that's that energy you need. You got to motivate these people, blah, blah, blah. Look. Tell me how much energy Bill Belichick gives off. Tell me how close to McVay Bill Belichick is, and tell me how much Bill Belichick won. So people don't tell me that there's one way it has to be. This is the best way. If that was the case, all 32 teams would be doing the same thing. The fact is there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and so while people hype that part up about McVay because he won, the fact is he could be the same McVay and lose, and then nobody would care. So whatever is happening when you win, no matter, the energy you have, the game planning you have, the way you practice, the way you do meetings, the way you pick captains, whatever you do when you winning, it's the right way because we're winning. Obviously, that's the right way. So don't give me all that. The point is you're coming from a very low bar with Jeff Fisher. And you added professionalism, and I get that. As somebody that lived through the Trestman era of the Bears, look, Fox didn't do great either as Trestman did, but it was a different team. As much as people complain, we were professional. We competed in games. We weren't getting blown out every night by 50 points. We weren't in the wrong gaps on defense. We were a professional team. So McVay definitely brought that part of it along with his staff, but then they have found success. Now, looking at that success, you're not talking about taking the same roster and just, okay, Jeff Fisher didn't know what to do with it, I know what to do with it. No, you change things around. Part of that is the GM as well. A good amount of that is the GM. And so you look at all the moving parts. And we know all the moving parts, but somehow when we get in these conversations, people just seem to forget them. You're talking about the GM having to evaluate talent in the draft right after he hired you to get your staff in with his scouting staff and to help pick players to what extent the team wants you to. Then you're talking about the trade for Sammy Watkins and trying to go into free agency and get other people. You're talking about picking Wade Phillips to run the defense and do all those different things. And then after all that, putting it together, you then got to go out and coach. And so here's one of the facts about their success. McVay doesn't touch the defensive side. And people say that about different things, but the proof is in the pudding when you watch it. When the defense is on the field, and you saw it early on, McVay's on the sideline with Goff or with his offensive players. He's talking, he's doing something. He's not even watching the defense. And so you can be involved throughout the week and different things and meetings, but you're not fully involved on that side of the ball if you're not even watching them when they're out on the field. Ever. And so That's the thing, is that half of this team is being ran by a defensive coordinator, and they said as much. They brought Wade Phillips in to run that side of the ball, which is part of the whole phenomenon that we'll get to. So the team turned around, has success. One thing a lot of people don't look at, even again with my Bears this year, your schedule means something too. And I'm not making that as an excuse. I don't even really know their schedule from that year, but I'm just saying who you play matters, where you play matters. That factors into it as well. And then, all the other factors that go into it. And then the point is, we don't know what goes on in these, organizations outside of the cameras. And as somebody that coaches, been on coaching staffs, and anybody that has coached, you would know so many decisions. You will never know where they come from. Sometimes there's decisions on a coaching staff and you forget yourself where it came from. And so there's no way that anybody outside the organization is going to know. There's times where we'll just be like, okay, yeah, whenever we see this formation, we want to slant our D-line to the strong side, whatever we've been doing. It's been working for us all year. Oh, wait, who brought that up? Or when did we decide to do that? Or, why did we decide? And sometimes you forget who came up with that idea. And it doesn't have to be your side of the ball. There's times as a defensive line coach, I made a suggestion about the receivers that sometimes the quarterback coach said, hey, well, maybe a linebacker should look for this. Like, there's so much collaboration. And so to sit here and act like one coach really just made everything happen is just crazy. So there's the success of the team. There's the success of Jared Goff. Those are the two things that combine to make the Sean McVay phenomenon. This quick turnaround, as they say. And again, the result of a lot of things coming together at the right time, but something that everybody just gave credit to McVay for. So going forward, what did that create? This phenomenon. Why is it a phenomenon? It's a phenomenon because, again, people are uninspired and unoriginal in their decision making. So a lot of front offices and a lot of owners just copycat league. That's the easiest way to say it. And so they always look at, okay, what's cool? And then let's just go with that. Oh, Seattle was winning. Anybody that was on Seattle's staff, let's get them. They made the Legion of Boom. Make ours the Legion of Boom. And so dumb. Now the Sean McVay, and the media doesn't help. I would say the people aren't so much saying that in the NFL, but their actions speak louder than their words. The media is saying, hey, they need their Sean McVay. Hey, they should get their Sean McVay. Hey, we need our Sean McVay. The media is saying that, but the actions are being done in the NFL where they're actually picking people that show that's what they're thinking. And I talked a couple days ago about Cliff Kingsbury, Matt LaFleur, all them. That's the proof in the pudding that you don't have original thoughts. It's always been a copycat league. It's wild card work. We got to get a wild card package, or wildcat, excuse me. Oh, pistol's hot. We should get a pistol. Oh, everyone's reading a read option. We should get the read option, even though our quarterback can't run. We should do a read option. And so just continually copycat. And so what happened is everyone wants to Sean McVay. And look, I like Matt Nagy. I've said it many times. I like what happened with my Bears, but even us, we should get our Sean McVay. We should get our Sean McVay. Oh, the Bears need to get our Sean McVay on. Let's get our Rams on. And it's like, if you mean we want to win games, yeah, everybody wants to win games. But to act like Sean McVay or he set some blueprint is ridiculous. It's because we look at what teams that have done it, and I'll use my Bears because we're probably the best example to copy that. It starts with what McVay is, an offensive coordinator that is very offensive minded, progressive, whatever. Cool. Fine. And I'll fight that all day. That doesn't mean much, especially when you become a head coach, because things are different. We know that's the trend now because of the numbers and the offense in the league. Cool, whatever. but I'll still fight that a defensive coach is fine. The other part of it is getting a defensive coordinator, a veteran defense coordinator that can run his own operation entirely without really any interference from the head coach. Now that is different. Again, people have done that to certain extents. I can't say that I ever felt like head coaches were just like, hey, you do your own thing. Now, some will say, even the Bears in 85, Mike Ditka, Buddy Ryan, but again, most of the time those head coaches end up clashing because they didn't like that setup. So far, McVay had that unselfishness to do it. Matt Nagy did the same thing. And so, cool, fine. That one's a little different, but again, that isn't McVay. And you know what? I'll put my chips on the table. For all intents and purposes, it might have been. I don't know. Again, McVay might have came up and said, hey, no, this is how I want to do it. But from what I've read and heard, and just from what I know, it seems as more likely that the people close and mentoring to McVay really pushed for this to happen. And the stories were that the Rams front office pushed for this to happen because they wanted Wade Phillips because of his head coaching previous experience. And that it was more so about supporting McVay as a new head coach because they liked his personality, they liked his ideas enough that they wanted him on the team, and the only way to really do that was to make him head coach. And so they might have just preferred him to be offensive coordinator, but they had to give him the head coach position in order to get him, but they wanted to continue to get him support. And so that's really where that came from. But again, McVay could have said, hey, let's do that. But either way, I don't see that as the McVay thing that he did. Now him, just like Nagy, deciding like, okay, I'm going to roll with it and I'm going to allow it. Yes, I give him credit for that. But again, it wasn't like he created that dynamic. So that's the second thing that people are starting to look at. Then you're talking about the roster. Now, this is the most ridiculous part of it all. People are like, okay, they went out and traded for some people. They went out and drafted some new people. And they went out and got free agency, mainly on the receiving core, but also on the offensive line and whatnot, whatever. And so people are like, that's the blueprint. That's called building a team. Do you really think Sean McVay or anyone in the Rams, for that matter, created the idea of signing free agents and also drafting players and also trading for players? No. Just because that's what they did, that's what they happened to do, now that's part of the blueprint. Now that's the hot thing. And it hurts my head to hear some people talk about it. Again, are you serious? Do you, just because they won, well, we need to do that. That's called building a team. That's always been there. That's always been an option. And so that part is just, it's a little ridiculous to me also. So, but again, it goes back to this copycat league and everything else. And so outside of all of that, the thing that really bothers me is that it's this short attention span society. As I said earlier, with people wanting to call people bust, they want to label them elite too, because everything's in extreme. Either you suck or you're elite. And so everyone's like, boy genius, Sean McVay. The Sean McVay. I need my Sean McVay. I need my Sean McVay. It happened after one season. Yes, you turned around and won games, and we could dissect and analyze. There's a lot of factors to it. Fact is, you won games, but it was still one season. It didn't happen right now. It happened last year when, as far as the phenomenon, people didn't wait to see how McVay continued to do. It was just, oh no, he's one of the best coaches in the league. Every time they talk about one of the best coaches in the league, the Sean McVay phenomenon. You want to do the Rams blueprint, and it's like you don't know if that is even sustained. You don't even know if that plays out, and that's everything. When we're talking about draft, when we're talking about people being a Pro Bowl, all that, people are just so quick to be like, yes, boom, that's it. It's good. It has to be good because we saw it was good. We're not going to analyze it any further or actually do our job as the media and give analysis to predict and say why it's going to continue. We're just going to be like, oh, it was good, so it's good. And so now I'm like, we're going to ignore the fact they had a first round exit. Even with our Bears, like, we had a 12-4 season. Big turnaround again from the low bar set from John Fox. Big turnaround, first round exit. And so you ask us how horrible it feels and if it matters a whole bunch, you know, about the whole Sean McVay thing. Like, whatever, whatever. We still lost. Now we'll see what they do today. But the fact is, even if they lose today, people are still going to do the same thing because it's the cool thing right now, and it will be a different cool thing. Guaranteed it'll be a different cool thing. Because when the Patriots win, they're the Patriots. There's nothing we can really copy. When the Eagles won, it was like, oh, well, there's further proof that offensive mind. And first of all, Doug Peterson wasn't even that young. But anyway, that offensive minded coach, that quarterback whisperer, we told you it works, even though his quarterback got injured. And yeah, he did good work with Nick Foles and everything. But again, Doug Peterson, look at what he did. And everybody wanted John DeFilippo and Frank Wright. Now look, John DeFilippo didn't even make it the whole season. They fired him. Now I don't think it was right, but I'm just saying, look what happened. And people wanted him to come be on the Bears squad. Some people want him as head coach. And so the phenomenon has definitely changed the landscape. And I just overall think it's too much praise for one person when there's so many factors that went into the success. And I think he'd be one of the first people to tell you that, Sean McVay himself. And then also, I think it's just short-sighted because they didn't do nothing yet. Yeah, you won in the regular season. It's not easy to win in the regular season sometimes. Yes, you won. But let's see what they do. And so that's one of the things that really irks me is that people talk about like it is in stone, it is set. It was one season that was last year. And so and of course they won this year, the number 2 seed. I'm not ignoring that. But let's see what they do postseason wise. So let's say the legacy after 5 years is Sean McVay never went past the first round, but went to 5 straight playoffs. Just say that's what it was with no other information. Is this the Sean McVay phenomenon then? Is that the blueprint that every team should be following then? Hindsight is 2020. That is why everybody can sit here and say, oh, you suck, up, you're this, you're that, because they saw it happen and that's it. But people don't realize that that's short-sighted, that hindsight in the long term is a lot more effective than hindsight in the short term. And so give it some time. Give it some time to breathe. And let's see what they end up doing before we start labeling this is the best coach and this is how it should be done. So that's my point. So anyway, go to the comment section. I know I went on for a long time, but I've been holding that in. Go to the comment section. Let me know what you think about Sean McVay and this whole phenomenon of the league copying them. Thumbs up, subscribe, share it around, get the convo started. And thank you for listening.